So, how was day one of your second training camp?
Good. I think guys, I think our build up to this, guys coming in early on their own, it makes kind of makes this transition of training camp easier. We don't have to overdo it right off the bat. Guys have been working and conditioning leading up to this, so good day. We didn't scrimmage today. Probably get to that tomorrow. So
What did practice look like for Darius?
he did like a 45-minute individual, and he's I mean, he looks good in those 45 minutes. I don't know. He's moving quickly in small spaces. Attacking closeouts. No contact. No contact. I don't want anybody to read too much into that. But he's definitely getting some good on-court work, individual work in.
How do you envision this offense to look differently this year than it did last year from
Yeah,
just conceptual
right off
standpoint?
the bat without Darius, we're gonna have to figure that out. We've been talking about it a lot. Obviously, ball will probably be shifted to Evan a little more. Don's gonna obviously handle a lot. You got Sam too that can handle it a bit, come off screens. And then that second unit's going to be interesting, right? What does that look like with Zoe and that group? So, listen, we have talented offensive players, so it's kind of it's going to be a little bit figuring out on the fly and getting some game reps before we know where we are.
And then whenever anyone's talked about Evan so far this year, whether it's been you, Kobe, guys yesterday, like, ball handling has been kind of the thing that's been brought up first. Is there anything other than that you expect to look differently about his game this year?
With the added strength, I'd say, continue to play with more force, So I don't want people to get carried away with the handle thing because he's still good as a screener in the pick and roll. He's still good, getting the ball to the paint. So I think, there were some guys last year where they body him up and he kind of couldn't get by him or couldn't back him down. So want to see him continue to play with force, with having that added strength.
Kenny, what do you like about the addition of Thomas Bryant and what had been early
Man,
impressions?
right away, like energy.
Yeah.
Like, I think every second once he stepped on the floor, it was go 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
And do it in a positive spirit, and that for that role, for that position that we kind of signed him for, it's kind of like that's what you want.
How does he change? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think. Listen, he's going to push Evan. I have this feeling. I don't know. We haven't played yet. My gut is he's going to push Evan and Ja and Larry. Like, this isn't going to be a vet coming in saying, hey, we'll just kind of play it nice. I think he's gonna get after them and help them become better players.
Can you go into detail about this outlet pass drill that these guys are talking about? How you get points when you push it up the floor?
So we do a lot of stuff like that. Kind of constraints led. Like we try to. We have an intent, something we're trying to emphasize, and then we gamify it basically, without yelling at them, hey, pass the ball across, kind of that was a whole school way of coaching.
Yeah.
Now we just, kind of put the, have our intention, and we put a game around it and a scoring around it, and then we compete. And then we can just step back and see how that, and we do that with, not just the outlet passes, whatever we're emphasizing.
Yeah.
It's kind of how we like to do it.
Clearly, obviously, the pushing the ball up the floor, though, is going to be a huge emphasis, though, for this team.
Yeah, we can be better. Efficiency-wise, we're elite, no doubt, but can we get to that scoring zone quicker? I think that's a point of emphasis here, and part of it is is to kick ahead, kick across, and part of it is, guys running without it, getting ahead of the play. So it's a real. There's obviously a conditioning element to it, but there's a strategic element. But definitely a point of emphasis in this camp.
Not going there yet in terms of the starting lineup, but when Dre is on the floor with Evan and Jarrett, just how do you see them complementing each other's games on each end of the floor? And obviously they have a little bit of time together last year doing that, but having a whole training camp is different.
Yeah, I mean, it should work seamlessly. I mean, Dre is really kind of perimeter oriented, right? Offensively, he can play behind the three. He gives you great spacing, the way he shoots the ball. So there's no spacing issues there. He gives you an isolation score, obviously. And then defensively, I know those three on the court, they defended pretty well and they rebounded well, So I'm excited to see what that looks like. And I think Dre is a good match with Sam and Don too, right? Like they complement each other in a way. So I'm like I said, I haven't committed to anything yet, but they're going to get kind of first shot at what that looks like. But I don't. I'm trying to get my head around. I don't see it can't work because of this or can't I haven't seen negatives to it yet. But again, we gotta see more on the floor.
You said you didn't want to make a big deal about Evan with the ball handling.
Yeah.
But did you have a conversation with him during your exit meetings, and did you kind of drive that player development angle of his off-season approach?
I think we really had specific plans for each guy. That was one of his. Hey, listen, they're going to try to take our guards out of the game. You have to be able to, handle the ball in space, and then you got to be able to go get us a bucket when we need a bucket, right? Like it's they're taking away our drive, kick, swing. They're taking all our stuff away. Sometimes you just gotta throw it to a guy and he's got to go get it. Those were two things he worked on, and we're still working on today. We played a bunch of one-on-one at elbow, mid-post, like just getting them in a little bit of a mentality. Hey, when we need a bucket, I can go get it first.
I mean, Evan has been runner-up for Rookie of the Year, All-Star, second-team All-NBA, Defensive Player of the Year. When you think about his evolution, what does that look like to you?
It's pretty amazing at 24 years old when you kind of put all those accolades together, right? This isn't 20. He's not 28. You're 24. So if you look at that, maybe you can project better than me, but if you look at, there's other things out there that he can be in the conversation for. And, I think, we'll see, you guys will observe the early part of the season, but seems to me it's like he's going to make another jump. I keep saying that. It just feels that way. He's been one of our best three-point shooters in preseason, so that confidence. He's driving closeouts better. I think he was a little uncomfortable in the past. Now he can, okay, they're running at me now. What do? I can show it. I can get in the paint. The challenge for me is just, I love perimeter Evan. I love it. But I also love interior Evan. So I thought last year we did a good job of finding that balance. So I don't want it to. I think the hardest to guard is if you can do both really well. That's your complete player, so I want to continue to find that balance with him.
What sense do you get as far as what DeAndre's comfort level is with the group this year compared to when he got here last year?
Night and day. Just seeing him interact with his teammates. I think last year, just by natural, history, him and Ty were very, very close. Best friends. So, which was great, and that helped us actually. Really helped us to Ty kind of knew where he wanted the ball, all that. But now this year, it's like Ty's not here. He's really inserted himself into the group in every sense. It's like he's been with this group forever. It's night and day. He's much more introverted last year.
Just a couple of things for me on
Yeah.
some guys on the bench. CP sounds like he has a lot more urgency in his voice when talking to him
Yeah.
right now. What have you seen from him this summer, and just working with him hands-on and his approach this year?
We were on him about getting in elite shape, and we tested him last week, and he hit like benchmarks and a bunch of performance metrics. I won't tell you which ones they are because it's his information, but he had highs kind of across the board. So that's, boom, check that box. And then, that's been his struggle a little bit, like to keep that consistency, physical, great physical shape. And then I think we especially offensively, we can find a way to use him better. I'm not sure we've used him as well as we can. And you think about that Boston game when he had that great game at Boston. We used him kind of as that hybrid, almost like the ice roll, getting in that half roll screening. He could slip out of a screen and because when you're a young guy like that and a role player like that, they usually put the worst defender on you. So you got to be able to screen. You got to be able to, and he's really, really good at that. Really, so you're going to see him more in that role. And then I think by being in better shape, he's got great, he's got really good defensive instincts. I think we're going to see a better defender.